Hey everybody, welcome to the Harvest Valley Life podcast. This is a podcast that goes deeper into the life of the church. We explore relevant topics, discuss updates, and share real life stories to both encourage and inspire you in your faith. Let's dive right in and get started. Hey, welcome to the Harvest Valley Life podcast. My name is Randy. I have the joy of serving as a lead pastor at Harvest Valley Church. And on this episode, we want to welcome Austin Saylor.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show, man. We're grateful for you. And man, it's just been a fun journey just to get to know you and your family. And we just appreciate you guys so much.
Thanks, man. It's been so wonderful becoming part of Harvest Valley Church.
Yeah. And with our podcast, what we like to do is we like to talk about just whether it's current events or maybe a theological issue, or also we just want to sit down and hear people's stories. And your story is a little unique. And I want to talk about your journey, in short, going from atheism to Christianity.
Yeah.
And I just want to unpack that for everybody that's listening. And before we do that, I just love just to get to know you, just a little bit about you, your background, and what brought you up to this moment today.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm married with a son. He's 1.5.
Oh, man.
He's an absolute joy.
Yeah.
Both my wife and I grew up in a large family in Minnesota, actually. Okay. We actually grew up like 3 blocks away from each other.
No kidding.
Our entire lives.
Wow.
Didn't meet until high school.
Okay.
And then the rest was was future, and we ended up getting married in 2021.
Okay.
And it's just been wonderful. My job brought me here. I work in biotech. I've always loved science. I've always had a very curious mind.
Yeah.
Trying to understand, the workings of the universe, and and that really has a lot to do with my journey from, kind of being, lukewarm Christian.
Sure.
Growing up.
Okay.
My family, we went to church every so often. We prayed around the table.
Yeah.
But it was very lukewarm, and
okay.
There were kind of kind of unsaid rules that were like, hey, don't talk about religion too much.
Oh, sure.
Or
sure.
like politics too much with others if you don't want to get in arguments and stuff like that. So,
totally.
So it was that kind of upbringing where it was a very lukewarm, Christianity.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of go back a little bit. And so were you and your wife, were you just kind of like high school sweethearts? Did you guys kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. And then did you get married after college or before college?
Yep. After college, I went to UMD.
Okay.
Majored in biology.
Okay.
And then moved to Fargo, and then Allie moved to Fargo, and then we got married, and yeah, it's been wonderful.
That's amazing, man. I love it. And so you said kind of growing up, you grew up with like a religion, right? It was there.
Yeah.
Would you say it wasn't like one of those things that like it shaped your life? It was more of just kind of like a thing on the side for you as a family.
It kind of depends. We were Lutheran, and I did get confirmed through the church.
Sure.
Went through like a youth Bible school through church. But it was very at the same time it was kind of on the side.
Sure.
The Christmas holiday and the Easter holiday.
Right.
Jesus wasn't like at the center of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Santa Claus was.
Yeah, for sure.
Or like the Easter egg hunts for Easter.
Yeah.
So, my memory of it, especially the older we got, the more it became like this, where it was like, you know, Jesus and Christianity just kept on like moving down the list of priorities.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can totally understand that. I think that's probably a story for most people in the area where they go to church, maybe they call themselves a certain thing, but this reality is Jesus shaping my life, and am I pursuing him, right? Am I making my life about him? And so you grew up in that tradition, but where in the journey did you start to kind of maybe dig a little bit deeper into thought and philosophy, and like maybe like I wouldn't necessarily call atheism, but we're in that journey where did I kind of like I'm going to start exploring this?
Yeah, you know, it was my introduction to the natural sciences that you know, started to lead me away you know, from religion. And I think that occurred because it was like, you know, I started learning all of these things about you know, biology and chemistry and, you know, just the natural sciences and you know how things really worked in the natural world. And I thought, like, wow, this is amazing. Like you know, we can, you know, discover everything. We can know everything, and we can maybe even you know, become in control of everything too.
Oh, sure. And absolutely.
I think that played a role. The theory of evolution absolutely was like a capturing force in that as well. And that's kind of how it started. Just an introduction to the natural sciences. I started to kind of, you know, lean out of, you know, God and religion a little bit. Yeah.
Did you find yourself? I would imagine so. I mean, you know, a lot of times we just do this deep dive, like something captures our mind. We go into a deep dive with like, whether it's like YouTube or like teachers or philosophers, or maybe we kind of immerse ourselves into a community that kind of thinks a lot like us. Was that part of your journey with like atheism? Did you find a group of people that you're like, yeah, man, I just kind of helped sharpen that thought of maybe not believing in God? What was that for you?
Actually, not a ton. I actually kind of felt like I was a little bit of an outsider in my family and amongst my peers. I didn't talk about it very much. I was kind of shy about it. Like, oh, I don't know what people might say if I tell them, hey, I'm not sure if I really believe in God. You know? Even though most people didn't talk about God openly anyways. So I was purely under the assumption that everyone else around me was like dead set in a belief, you know, of, you know, Jesus' story and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you find yourself like any particular maybe atheist that you gravitated towards? Any like books or anything like of that nature that were like really kind of drew you in a little bit deeper?
No, actually, you know, the new atheist movement was kicking off in the early 2000s with like Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris. And actually, no, I didn't really know those guys at the time. I just became captured by some like, you know, like evolutionary theory thoughts, and kind of just through having a shallow understanding of biology and just like the universe as a whole. I just quickly like started to make assumptions that like, oh, we don't need God to explain anything, you know?
Right.
That's kind of how it happened. As my understanding of, you know, scientific concepts started to deepen, however, that's when I started to, you know, shift away from atheism and more towards like an agnosticism. Actually is how it happened. That's how it first occurred, where it wasn't you know, straight from, you know, atheism back to Christianity. It wasn't like that. I actually spent more time as an agnostic than an atheist.
You know, it's interesting, you know, I think it can be a stereotype, and sometimes stereotypes are true in the sense that you talk to maybe somebody who's been an atheist or agnostic. A lot of their journeys have actually, they grew up in faith or had some sort of faith, and then there was like a hurt or disappointment, and sometimes that kind of causes people to shift a direction. Was that part of your story at all with religion? Maybe there was a shift moment. You're like, I just don't want to pursue this anymore. I want to pursue something. It doesn't necessarily sound like it. For you, is more of like, hey, kind of the sciences drew me in. But was there a moment in church or religion that kind of really turned you off towards that?
Not a direct hurt from a religious person or institution. I will say that some of the revisionist history of Christianity started to capture me as well.
Sure.
Discussions revolving around the Crusades, for example,
right,
was like a pretty common thing to be like, oh well, Christianity is bad because the Crusades were bad.
Sure.
And in reality, the Crusades were purely a defensive act by Christians,
right?
In the face of Islamic invasion.
Yeah.
And that is just totally ignored and left out.
Sure. Yeah.
It's so things like that,
right,
kind of capture me and was like, oh, maybe Christianity was kind of a force for bad
for
in some
sure
cases.
Yeah, for sure. And it kind of built your case to kind of like, that's not something I want to pursue. I mean, in your mind, in your heart.
Yeah.
Was there a moment like when you just where your family kind of found out that, man, Austin's kind of going through this season where he's maybe from atheism to maybe an agnostic? Like, was that ever a discussion with your family, or was it just kind of like left kind of unsaid?
I think I brought it up like here and there. I really enjoyed having, and still do enjoy having philosophical conversations about like, different conceptualizations of God and stuff like that.
Right.
And I would like, sometimes on long car rides, I would just be like, you guys, I have this novel idea of like a conceptualization of God, and like here it is, and and everyone would just be like, okay. And
right.
Funny thing, looking back at it, it was just different versions of like paganism that people have thought of before. And I thought I was maybe kind of clever, but it was just it was just very derivative, like pagan stuff.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. So you're trying to unpack this and understand it for yourself, right? And it makes complete sense. And so you go from, you said atheism to being an agnostic to like maybe you start kind of not necessarily like Christianity, but like where in the journey did you kind of like pivot? And what was the catalyst for you to start kind of pivoting towards Christianity and to
really
basically to follow Christ?
That's a really good question. And it's so many things that contributed, to the transformation. I mean, first from going from an atheist to more of an agnostic and like, or believing in God, but maybe not like, Christianity, was I really took notice and became awestruck again at like, the design in nature.
Yeah.
And, the interconnectedness that, we feel and that we share, with each other and like the world.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a feeling thing, and as kind of like a more scientific person, I don't like to lean on feelings that much.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting that it occurred that way.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the catalyst towards agnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
And then the transition from being an agnostic to a Christian was another longer, transformation stage.
Yeah.
And there's just so many things. And when people ask this question, it's difficult to like, tell you the one thing, because it's not, it's a few things. To break it down, I would say it's maybe 3 or 4. Like main things that really started to make me think.
Sure.
Firstly, on the scientific front, there's absolutely, an an apparent intelligibility of the universe, and an inherent language that is inherent in everything. For example, our DNA, codes for all of our entire body, every single physiological process. And it's simply a sequence of nucleic acids. It's in every single cell of our body. And that is a language.
It's wild.
And physics and mathematics, what kind of the types of energies and constants that hold the universe together is also a type of language too. Right? And it's there, outside of us. Okay. And language doesn't just occur out of nothing. There has to be a mind behind it. Right? So that's a big thing. The second thing, for me, especially becoming a Christian, is the historicity of Jesus and the Bible. Or I think you'd be able to speak much better about that. But a common thing that atheists would say and still do is that the Bible is just a book. It's just a book. A couple dudes wrote it. It's subjective. You can't possibly take that as any sort of truth claims. But the Bible isn't that. It's anything but simple. It's an extremely complex compilation of historical texts that are corroborated by historical events that are documented by by other ancient non-biblical, non-Christian historians.
Absolutely.
It's anything but just a book.
Absolutely.
It's maybe the only book that's anything but a book. I don't know.
That makes complete sense. Absolutely. It's different.
And so I started to look into more of the historical claims. I started listening to some historians and reading some books about the Bible and the accounts in it and how credible it actually is. And turns out it's extremely credible. The third thing is that it became clear that science cannot create a moral framework that really lasts and that works. The best science can do is create a moral subjectivity, moral relativism, where basically it's you do you, and I could object to something that you do, but at the bottom, I don't have any grounds to really make a truth claim whether or not it's right or wrong. It's just it just comes down to preference. So I kind of noticed that, and it just became very clear that science cannot determine morals.
Exactly.
And when it tries to, it does a really terrible job. We saw that in the 20th century. With the communist states. They did that. And then, the fourth thing, and this is maybe a lesser thing that kind of brought me to Christianity, but is a widespread documentation of near-death experiences, which I found really fascinating. And now that argument or that observation rather is actually a really good way to go from atheism to agnosticism.
Oh, sure.
Because there are a ton of cases where people actually clinically die.
Yeah.
And then when they're revived, they can tell you that their soul left their body.
Right.
And that they were able to, they described what was going on when they were clinically dead.
Right. Wow.
And then it was and then those descriptions are corroborated by people in the room.
Right.
Or something like that.
Right. Absolutely.
And that is extremely fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, where would the memories and that information be stored if the person's clinically dead?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty good case for the fact that we have a soul.
Yeah.
Or a spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. But I appreciate you unpacking those 4 things. I mean, like you said, it just wasn't just this one catalyst moment, but it was a series of things that began to shift your heart and your mind in that direction. And as you go on that journey, I mean, is there maybe a point in your life, a moment where you're like, man, this is it. This is true. Like, Christ is who he says he is. The Bible is not just this random book, and we do have a soul. Was there a moment where you're like, I want to pursue this?
Maybe not a moment, but like a series of moments.
Yeah.
I remember telling Allie, I was like, hey, what if Jesus actually did perform all those miracles and was resurrected?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what then?
Right.
Like, I don't know. I'm looking at all this stuff, and we were kind of talking, and it just, and then I don't know. It wasn't like a moment, but we started going to church in the spring, summer of 2025.
Yeah.
Pretty recently.
Yeah.
And we actually started to like kind of encounter the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
That's a really difficult thing to describe.
Right. It is. It is.
It felt like a tingling kind of.
Yeah.
Some kind of like welling up inside of us, or like something was like occurring, like in our, not just like, and it's not confined to a specific part of the body. It's just really it's just a really profound experience. So we started to kind of feel that too. And the more that I actually participated in praying and worshiping, like, actually the more I started to like kind of feel that.
Yeah.
So something about opening up and participating actually started to like create the transformation, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I think that is so important to talk about too, because for you, there was this intellectual journey that you went on, but then also a part of, even as we talk about science or us as humans with how we're made up, we do have bodies, and there's a reality where we do have feelings and emotions, and I think some people are afraid of maybe the language you just talked about, where it's just kind of like, man, I just felt something, and then you're like, well, you can't talk, but like, could we be honest? If something is real, you're gonna feel it, right? There's this like, okay, there's literally a presence of the Lord that comes upon us and works in our life. And I've often heard people say, man, when I came to church, like, I just felt so emotional. I just felt like something was happening inside of me, and it's hard to explain. And then people will often say, well, don't get caught up in emotion. But you're like, but in other words, you're saying don't get caught up in being human in the journey, where like it's both intellectual and emotion and feeling, and like there's so much to this. And I just appreciate the journey for you is both intellectual, but it's also the reality of like, no, I really felt like the presence of God was just coming upon me and working in my life. And I think that's a powerful reality. That's amazing.
Absolutely. It's both.
Yeah. So what was the moment where you're like, we got to go to church? Like, that's a big step. Like, and so tell us, unpack that.
Having a son.
Yeah.
Having a son changed everything.
Wow.
it's no longer about me.
Yeah.
You know, and I want my son to, you know, to grow up with what I had.
Yeah.
In a society that values life.
Yeah.
That values people.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of race and sex or ability.
Yeah.
And you know, I wanted my son to, you know, to have a good example of that.
Yeah.
I think that religion is the only way, or, you know, Christianity specifically is the only way to build a proper moral framework that lasts for generations.
For sure. For sure.
So that was a big part of it.
Yeah.
And actually in the very beginning, pursuing Christianity was out of utility. And then when I started to research more and learn more and participate more, I started to realize that this isn't just for utility. This is actually the truth. Too.
Yeah.
You know,
that's good. I love what you said, is because I think sometimes, even like when it comes to faith or like church, we can be very passive even though we're there. Right. And what I appreciate about what you're saying is that I want to be active while I'm there, and I want to engage. Like I'm going to engage in worship. I'm going to engage in the experience of connecting with people. I'm going to engage in, with my body, like maybe lifting my hands or closing my eyes, or just, maybe going to the altar or reading the scriptures. Like there's an engagement part that I appreciate that you're saying, that it's not like I'm passively just going to church and then checking out, which I think is probably, you know, the story of, you know, I don't want to categorize everybody, but, you know, for most people who say, I go to church, it's more of like kind of punching in your time card and just going, versus I appreciate what you're saying. You're going to engage also the experience of being the church and being in that moment, which radically transforms us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, as we kind of begin to wrap this up, I would imagine that people who are listening, they might even share this with a family member that has a similar journey that maybe that you walk through. What would be an encouragement for somebody who maybe kind of has a journey and experience like you, or they're just kind of thinking through life and eternity and faith? What would you say to them to help them on their journey?
Sure. Yeah. You know, I can't speak to all, you know, atheists or skeptics out there.
Yeah.
There are so many different types of people that need different types of evidence, you know, to get there.
Yeah.
And to, you know, come into faith with Jesus.
Yeah.
But I guess I would say, like, for the types that are like me, you know, more scientific, you know, oriented people, I would say, like, keep an open mind and, you know, research and discover for yourself, like, continue to learn, you know, listen to discussions and debates, you know, about God and Christianity.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
And absolutely don't let anyone make you feel that, you know, believing in God is something that an ignorant person would do.
Sure.
That's a common sentiment, that people that believe in God aren't, like, of the smarter variety.
Right.
It's absolutely not true.
Right.
There are academic leaders that are Christians.
Yes.
And there are academic leaders that are not. You know, there's really smart people on both sides of this.
Yeah.
So I would leave them with that, and, you know, don't take my word for it, you know, and just, I mean, but I'm so confident in the story of Jesus and Christianity that if you really look into it with an open heart, you'll discover the truth, and that it is the truth.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a great way to wrap this up. I love, like, having an open heart because I think that's kind of like the thing that keeps us from moving forward is maybe just our pride or a willingness to have an open heart or an open mind. Because there's a way to explore things with an open heart, or there's a way to explore things just to affirm the direction we really want to go. And I just appreciate that, just having an open heart as you pursue truth, as you desire to know what is true on this earth and in eternity. Austin, I just wanted to say thank you for just being here. Thank you for being honest with your journey. Thank you for just being real and transparent, and just thank you for being a part of Harvest Valley Church, both you and Allie, man. You guys are such a blessing, and I just thank you for also leading your family as well. Your son and your wife, and just pursuing Christ together. I think that's a rich, beautiful, admirable thing, in this time and culture. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for going on the journey with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. Thanks for listening to the Harvest Valley Life podcast. We would love for you to get connected with us. To discover more about Harvest Valley, go to our website at harvestvalley.church. Again, thanks for listening, and be sure to join us for our next episode.